So, as we know, folks, the Syrian government has officially fallen. And this is a piece of video that has since resurfaced over the last 12 or 13 hours or so. Only Iran is left among the original targets of neocons and Zionists. So here's General Wesley Clark, who ran for president in 2004. This is an interview with Democracy Now! In 2007, where he recounts hearing about plans to topple 7 countries in 5 years in the days following 9/11 2001. This is a piece of video I've seen quite a few times, but I'm glad this is getting talked about again now because this is a chilling piece of sound here.
10 days after 9/11, I went through the Pentagon and I saw Secretary Rumsfeld and Deputy Secretary Wolfowitz. I went downstairs just to say hello to some of the people on the Joint Staff who used to work for me. And one of the generals called me in. He said, "Sir, you got to come in. You got to come in and talk to me a second." I said, "Well, you're too busy." He said, "No." He says, "We've made the decision. We're going to war with Iraq." This was on or about the 20th of September. I said, "We're going to war with Iraq. Why?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I guess they don't know what else to do." So I said, "Well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to Al-Qaeda?" He said, No. He says, "There's nothing new that way. They just made the decision to go to war with Iraq." He said, "I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we've got a good military and we can take down governments." And he said, "I guess if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail." So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, "Are we still going to war with Iraq?" And he said, "Oh, it's worse than that." He reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper, and he said, I just got this down from upstairs," meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today, and he said, "This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran."
Wow. Days, not months, days after 9/11, we plan to take out 7 countries in 5 years. You know, people think they lied about everything related to the Iraq war.
When was this?
This interview was 2007. So this is while Bush was still in office. Now, people say that, you know, the Bush team lied about everything vis-a-vis the Iraq war. And that is technically not true. I don't think they were lying when they said they thought it was going to take 6 days, 6 weeks, maybe 6 months. Because when you look at their plans to realign the Middle East within their term, they thought it could happen that easily. They thought Iraq was going to fall like that. They thought they were going to be able to completely rearrange that part of the world in 7 years. And it has taken them a lot longer than that, and they're not done yet. But if you look, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Iran's the only one left. Now, because imperial powers tend to be extremely arrogant, it's taken them much longer than they thought, and they're not done yet. But that is the plan. And the think tank that the Bush cabinet was all a part of in the 90s was called A Project for a New American Century. This is a vision for perpetual war and a realignment of the Middle East that is now almost complete to their liking. Not quite. And Iran is that final boss. And they may not get there, but they are one step closer now. And that is an absolutely chilling video. That tells you what these people are all about. That tells you what this government is all about. That this guy is saying days after 9/11, they're saying we got plans for 7 countries in the next 5 years. You know who's not on that list? The Saudis. And that's where the hijackers came from. Isn't that funny?
Yep. Well, when you look at the fact that they have followed that plan exactly, there's no reason to think they won't go into Iran. I'm sorry. This is why.
Well, of course, that's what I mean. They want it. That's the plan.
This is why I will not simp for the Trump administration. Nobody has been louder about wanting to start a war with Iran than Trump has.
Right.
Like if there's any wrecking crew that's going to go ahead and start a war with Iran, it's these guys. None of the people that he's appointing are dovish. None of these people, wherever that Tulsi that used to talk about having peaceful relations with Assad went, we haven't seen that Tulsi in a very long time. There's nobody on that team who's not a bloodthirsty, warmongering fucking maniac. So what do you think's going to happen with all of this in play when they come into office? Why, you think Trump's going to say, nah, I don't think we should start anything with Iran? You might say that about Russia. He's not going to say it about Iran. That's the last one on the list. That's the last one on their bingo card.
Please clap.